Today's episode of the Occasional Podcast is sponsored by Tidal Audio, a sound celebration building emotions. Tidal Audio invites you to share in a unique experience. For the first time in the United States, Tidal Audio products will be showcased in 3 large rooms hosted by Audio Ultra, Artisan Fidelity, and The Voice That Is. Joining the celebration will be the Tidal Audio CEO, Jorn Janzak. One of the featured products is the world premiere of the new AP1 speaker. You can also experience the Contriva G3 and Piano G3 speakers, the new Farios G2 mono amplifiers, the Contras digital music converter, the Prisma preamplifier, Tidal plus Bugatti MP1 and MC1 electronics, Turnbull audio cables, and more. From Friday, April 11th to Saturday, April 12th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Chicago Marriott Schaumburg at 50 North Martin Gate Road, Schaumburg, Illinois, 60173. The Chicago Marriott Schaumburg is just minutes away from the Renaissance Schaumburg Convention Center and Hotel. For more details, contact Ed DeVito at info@audio-ultra.com, Christopher Thornton at info@artisanfidelity.com, or Doug White at contact@thevoicethatis.com. Every year, there's a really big show that takes place in Chicago called AXPONA, and there are always a ton of product releases, and there's been a ton of great speakers that have come out in the last year. So we thought it would be prudent, we thought it would be fun, we thought it would be entertaining if we ran through, Mark and I, our top 10 picks for best speakers from the past year. So we're going to have like a semester reset just next week, and we'll have a bunch of new products to talk about. So tune into that podcast because we'll be covering all the AXPONA highlights with all the new stuff, the news, the brews, and all the fun, I don't know, dues you have to pay?
Yeah, hairdos. I was thinking hairdos, all the fun hairdos.
It's a very stylish event, no doubt. So we are going to recap everything from the past year in terms of the best speakers that we have heard, be it at shows, be it at stuff we've had in. And we're going to go from least expensive to most expensive. So they will be a little bit of something for everybody.
Hopefully
you find your new passion, your new upgrade. Today's episode is sponsored by Nordost. Ready to take your system to the next level? Transform the way you listen with Nordost's world-class hi-fi cables and audio enhancers. Nordost's superior design philosophy and exacting craftsmanship bring out every musical detail, connecting you with the tunes you love. Hear the difference as your equipment comes to life, turning every listening session into an unforgettable audio journey. Nordost, the clear choice for the best connection. That's www.nordost.com. Today's episode is brought to you by AXPONA 2025. America's largest high-fidelity audio show takes place April 11th, 12th, and 13th at the Schaumburg Convention Center near Chicago, Illinois. Plan a trip to the Windy City this spring and discover over 200 listening rooms of high-end audio equipment and explore the latest in headphone hi-fi and AXPONA's ear gear experience. New this year, get a look behind the show curtain on AXPONA's Audio Insider podcast. Get an exclusive sneak peek at AXPONA 2025, where leading manufacturers unveil their latest gear, share captivating stories, and give you a preview of what's in store. Don't miss out on the insider access to North America's biggest audio event of the year. Visit AXPONA.com for details on where to listen or watch. Tickets are available now at AXPONA.com. That's www.AXPONA.com. I wanted to kick it off with a bonus. So this is a bonus one. This is not going into the parameters of the full top 10. But for those of you that are in for a budget kind of speaker and you have a love for three-way and maybe British hi-fi, I am in the midst, I'm in the weeds of a Wharfdale Super Linton review. And this is my recommendation, folks, for a speaker in the mid 3000s range. So the cool thing about this is it very frequently is sold with matching stands that hold records. So the thing I like about this from just the style standpoint is that it's not a floor standard, but it takes up roughly the same floor space as a floor standard, but it's like a stand mount, obviously. But the bottom half, instead of cabinet, you can utilize it for records. Brilliant. Has a vintage vibe. You can get it in vintage colors. It comes in, sometimes I've seen it less than 3,000, but 3,000 includes the stands right now, and there's sales going on occasionally. So get your finish, whatever. It's sold out a bunch, but it's back in stock some places. And that is the Wharfdale Super Linton at $3,000. It has a great tone to it, and it has enough in the bass that it really thumps with a three-way design. But I would argue it does have a pretty good cohesiveness amongst the drivers at the $3,000 range. So a really tonally rich speaker that I highly recommend, Wharfdale Super Linton. And that is my reco for the entry level. Mark, what would you say is your favorite kind of take on the entry level? Let's just start with your number one.
I tend to start with the LS35As, and a lot of that depends upon what kind of BBC LS35As are being made by whom and when and where. And it's gotten kind of complicated over the last year or two because we had the MoFi edition LS35A that I reviewed 3 or 4 years ago, and it was only $19.95, and I still remember the first time I plugged them in, and I thought, okay, let's see what an LS35A sounds like, considering I haven't heard one in 20, 25 years. It was silly good. It was just like, oh my God, of course this is amazing. And so that specific one is no longer being made by Falcon, even though I think Rogers is making a version of it now. So what happened was it was the MoFi version. It was a real no frills, available only on black. Then they started calling it the silver label one. Because of that, there is a gold label one. And the gold label one is a very, very special edition of it. And it's even better. It's more refined. On paper, I mean, the specs look the same. They both reach down to only about 70 hertz. There is something about the gold badge one, which is 4,000 a pair, will just immediately inform you of why LS35As are still loved this way almost 60 years after they were first introduced to the market. There's a purity of tone to them. It gets so much right. Of course, it doesn't get deep bass, but the trick is you listen to them in the near field, which is what they were designed for. And the closer you scoot your chair up to these speakers, the less the bass, the deep bass matters, because it starts to feel like it's got great bass when you get in the near field. And so for me, I mean, I always talk about desert island system and everything, and it's really easy to carry around a tiny pair of LS35As around and just have all the sound quality, at least that I could want from a speaker. It's just satisfying on so many levels.
All right, now moving up, what do you got for number two?
Number two is I'd have to go. This is definitely something that we've discovered over the last year. And this is the new AXPONA Acoustics MRB. They have a new line. It's called the MRC line. It's supposedly their entry-level line, but right out of the gate, these speakers have sounded incredible for the money. And so the smallest model is called the MRB. It is a simple two-way floor standing speaker. It runs for $8,000. And I will tell you, I've heard these a couple times where they were put into a very, very large room. In fact, one of them was at Capital Audio Fest, I think, where it was that big open atrium. It was filling this gigantic interior space of a major hotel with just powerful sound, energizing the space, which was enormous, of course. It's a small pair of two ways. It is just kind of silly how clear and powerful and deep they go. And so the last time I heard them, which was at Florida show a couple months ago, is walked in the room, sat down. Valcor came up to me, and he had them right next to his Acora VRC ones, the big giant ones that are $218,000 a pair. And they're just sitting next to each other. And I sat down, and he leans in and he goes, "You do know I'm playing the little ones right now." And I said, "I did, but it wasn't obvious." And it was just, but for $8,000 a pair, I can't wait to get my hands on them. They're really, really amazing.
Number three
is a speaker that I just reviewed. I was hoping to be instrumental somewhat in introducing this brand to the United States. A lot of people know about it. It's called Wolf von Lange, or if I was speaking German, I guess it would be Wolfwanlange. I guess I don't speak German. For the last few years, I've been going to Munich, and I head straight for the room that has Phase-Mation, Yuki Samitsu turntable, and Wolfwanlange speakers. And there's something about this system that it just hypnotizes me. It is so good. It is so musical. Wolfwanlange hasn't really been available in the United States until recently, and I went to the Capital Audio Fest. Walk into a room and I see Wolfwanlange, and I said, "Oh my God, there's a pair of Wolfwanlange speakers here." And so I went in, and it was their smallest entry level model, and it's called the Serendipity Plus, 10,000 a pair. Still a two-way box, but the drivers are kind of unusual. It uses an AMT tweeter, the folded tweeter. It has a unique enclosure. This was a speaker, whereas we were just talking about the core is big and powerful, throws a big soundstage, where the Serendipity was all about the refinement and had a deep sense of refinement. The sound quality was really, really special on this one. And, when it comes to at the end of the year, I'll be taking another look at this. When it comes to us doing our awards, they were winners.
Ooh,
absolutely incredible.
Sneak peek. If you listen to this sneak peek, right? What's number 4?
Number 4 is a speaker. I heard that surprised me last year at a show. I can't remember which one. But that we're really big fans of QLN speakers from Sweden right now.
Yeah.
And so the QLN had a little speaker, really tiny, smaller than their Prestige one. I did the Prestige one a few years ago, and it's not especially tiny, but for $6,800 they sounded really good. Well, this one is called the V7, and originally there was a Model 1 a couple of years ago, which was a reissue of their very first monitor speaker. And it was kind of their entry level. I think it was about $4,000. And so I sat down, and this one, they had changed the name to just the QLN 1. And it said version 7. And I sat down and listened to the speaker, and I thought, whoa, this is really good. This is better than I imagined. It's one of the best QLNs I've ever heard. And I found out that they completely went with a new direction for the latest version, and they put it as part of their reference line. And the reference line, so this is $12,000. So at first I thought, this is incredible amount of speaker for $4,000. This is insane. And then I heard somebody said, "Oh, the cost is $12,000," and I knew something was up and something was different. But what it was, they went from their Prestige line and they started making a speaker as if it was part of the reference line. So it's now the entry level of the reference line. But this was amazing. I mean, it goes so deep in the bass. Again, it's a huge sound. I mean, if you really want a great two-way monitor, you got to make it sound big. I put my name on the list waiting to get this because I think it's a really special speaker. And it's the tiniest one I've seen from them, but the level of performance for it was right up there with some of my favorites from QLN.
And they have quite a few. I've always appreciated what they've been able to pull out of a small space.
We all love the QLNs. It's such a big, warm, open. They do bass well.
Yeah.
Really, really likable speakers.
Number 5.
Let's go with the Credo EV1202. And this is a personal favorite of mine. I went to Switzerland last year to visit the Credo factory. Michael Kraske, who does Credo, he had several systems set up throughout his factory. And there was the big one. He has a pair. They're called the Cinema LTMs, and they're big array speakers that are $200,000 a pair. I started looking around for the EV1202, which is a Diapolito, as woofer, tweeter, woofer. They're tall, they're thin, they're very svelte. They're nicely finished, although nothing looks incredibly special about them until you start listening to them. And every time I listen to them, I just say to myself, God, these are my speakers. These are my speakers. It's one of those things I could talk about, what's the greatest speaker out there? And it's like, I don't know what the answer to that is. What are my favorites? And the Credo EV1202. I did the little EV350s a couple of years ago, and they're a little two-way monitor that, again, you could set it down in a big room and it'll do a very good job of energizing it. Where this is a little bit larger speaker, but still not the biggest speaker they have. These retail for $17,000 a pair. And by the end of the year, hopefully I'll have a pair in my listening room, and I already know that I love them, unless something horrible happens or my pair doesn't work right or whatever. But we're going to say for now that this is right now. If I, as an audiophile, were going to go out and buy a pair of speakers within my so-called price range, Credos would probably be it. The EV1202, it's an amazing speaker.
Today's episode is sponsored by Shit Audio. Shit Audio designs and builds audio components in Texas. Based in San Antonio and Corpus Christi, their wide line of amps, DACs, and audio accessories fit any budget, starting at $49. For a full rundown of all their products, visit shit.com. That's SCHIIT.com. Our friends at ZMF Headphones are sponsors of today's episode. ZMF is a curated collection of various sounds and styles in the form of dynamic and planar magnetic wood headphones, designed by founder Zach Merbach since 2011. ZMF has garnered an A+ recommended component in Stereophile, Headphone of the Year on Headphonics.com, and been a 2-time winner of the SBAF Golden Schlong Award. ZMF Headphones. That's the letter ZMF, HEADPHONES.com. ZMF Headphones is the place to go to check out ZMF's collection and learn more. ZMF, traditional craft and modern acoustics. Number 7.
Number 7 is we're going to have to start talking about YG acoustics at some time. So in the last year, I'm on my third pair reviewing them, and I think it's kind of obvious that I like them. So I started off with the Sonya 3.2s, which are $99,000 a pair, and then I went all the way down to the Talus, which is their Peaks line, which again is a more affordable entry-level line that's still pretty amazing. They're about $20,000 a pair, and they were pretty impressive. But right now, instead, I have the YG Carmel 3s, which is their original small speaker. It's a little floor standing 2-way, and it is skinny. It's not that deep. When you look in and walk around it, you say, "Oh, this is a cute little speaker," and then you realize that once it starts playing, it sounds like a big YG. It goes really deep in the bass. It's really easy to place in a room because of its small dimensions. But that's what I'm using right now, and it's one of those speakers that I hope it doesn't go anywhere anytime soon. I'm dragging my feet reviewing this. They're just really sweet. They do everything I want them to do. They're very exact. They're very precise. They're very accurate, but at the same time, musically, they're very satisfying, and I'm digging them. And those are $30,000 a pair.
Number 8!
I'm going to talk about living voice speakers. Gary Dews, who runs Border Patrol Electronics, and we spend a lot of time listening over the years to pt.AUDIO, Border Patrol, and Triode Wire Labs rooms at shows. The three of them get together, they do their shows. But Gary Dews of Border Patrol he's also the U.S. distributor for Living Voice Speakers, which is out of the UK. So for the last couple of shows, he's actually been touring with the new R80 speakers. I believe they're in around $50,000 a pair, depending on the finishes, and they have external crossovers. They're beautifully finished. I have yet to meet somebody who really doesn't love living voice speakers. They're very, very impressive, very likable speaker, but at the same time, they're very sweet. They have this sweetness to them that's very alluring. And so these new R80s, which are fairly big, they're big speakers. Living Voice makes bigger speakers. They have enormous horn speakers that are beautifully made, big wooden horns and that. So this is kind of their normal dynamic driver 2.5 way that with external crossovers. And I could just sit and listen to these forever because they just sing to you. They just are soothing, and they do everything else. They go loud, they go deep, but they just are so seductive, and they just wrap you up in their arms and give you little kisses. And and I dig them. I dig them a lot.
Number 9.
Okay, number 9, we're going to go with, I heard these just in Florida, and we're going to go with YG Acoustics, and it's their XV3, and that's their big flagship right now. And so with all the options that I had a couple of finish options and this and that, they're $500,000 speakers. So we've jumped up once again. $500,000 speakers. They were running with Western Electric monoblocks. And so between all the amplification, they were running the XV3s, which are hard to drive. They require a lot of juice, but they were running them with a total of 34 Western Electric 300B tubes. And for me, these speakers delivered the most perfect sound stage I've ever heard, just in terms of everything intact, everything that belongs, everything's in its right spot. It was just perfect the way that the soundstage was laid out as it would, in a normal live performance. $500,000, sure, that's crazy, but man, if you're just going to the high-end audio shows just to hear what a gift it is to sit down and listen to something. No, you can't afford it, but it's not worth complaining about it because you can pay your $20 to get in, and you can sit down and listen to a $500,000 pair of speakers that will blow your mind and let you know what's possible out there and give you an objective in building your system. I don't know anybody who can afford $500,000 pair of speakers, but if I had $500,000 pair of speakers, yeah, I'd be calling YG up. So it's interesting how YG, just a couple of years ago, they weren't on my radar because they went kind of quiet for a little while because they were regrouping. They had some new owners came in that were determined to preserve the design and just update some of the machining processes. And right now, it's YG Acoustics is making some of the finest speakers on the planet. Just really, really amazing speakers. And so their flagship is just every bit as impressive as I thought it would be. And I'm a person who spent 6 months with the Sonya 3.2s and thought they were just amazing and perfect for what they were. But these are bigger in every direction.
Oh my goodness. We have reached the end of our tale here. Number 10. Tell me, Mark Phillips, what is your top most expensive speaker for this last 12 months, the year of our Lord 2025?
Are you guys ready for this? Because we're talking about a speaker system that is almost $1 million. This was, again, at the Florida show. This was from Clarissa's Audio, and they make big panel speakers. Everybody who walked in this room was just speechless when they saw it. It's a combination of, it's a total of 6 towers. So there's a tweeter tower, a woofer tower, and then a subwoofer tower. And it's the Clarissa's Atrium. I believe the price is around $900,000 for the system, which is 6 towers that are 9 feet tall. And this sounds like, oh, we can achieve concert level sound with this one. We could just crank it up and blow everybody away. And it was actually turned out to be surprising in the way that it really adapted this huge monstrous system that took up so much real estate in that huge room, that they delivered a delicate sound when they needed to. So if I was listening to, and they were doing this instead of having these sonic fireworks where they want to impress everybody and blow them out of their seats, they played whatever they wanted to, and the speakers kind of melded into whatever best served the music. So if it was I heard a solo piano recording, and it sounded like somebody was, sitting there playing the piano right in front of me. And yet when the music became big, it was almost unlimited in scope. And also, I mean, they have a kind of an unusual industrial design, which I really dug. They're absolutely beautiful. Of course, their speakers get down more into normal people's range. They're pretty special. And so everybody is starting to talk about how great Clarissa's is, and you should believe the hype. They are really special.
Believe the hype.
Don't believe the hype.
Thank you, Mark, so much for that extensive list. I appreciate all your observations. And the man in the field, the 2 ears pasted heavily to the beating pulse of high-end audio, going out there, crushing it at the shows, man. But it is a lot of hard work. You got a lot of rooms, a lot of people pulling on you to get stuff, but you get it done, and you listen vivaciously. You're a vivacious listener, so that's great. Thank you so much for getting your ears on so many different things so we can help, the listening audience here kind of get a small taste of what's been going on in the last year. You're keeping up to date with things. Also anecdotal, Record Store Day is coming up very, very soon. If you're listening to this podcast, it might have already passed. Saturday, April 12 is Record Store Day. And as you might or might not know, there's always a bunch of cool one-off releases. If you want to make a little bit of scratch because you're looking, you go there, buy the records, immediately turn around and sell them on eBay. Just kidding. Don't do that. But
they'll love you saying that, I'm sure.
I'm kidding. Don't do that. But if you did, they go for a lot of money. It's crazy. It's hard to get your hands on these, so it's fun to have these collectible one-offs. This year, Sting is doing a one-off, and he did a little promotional video. And guess which amplifier he has in his house. That's the whole part I want to tell you about. He had an amplifier that we're familiar with in his house. He reaches down in the video, turns the volume up. Guess which amplifier it was, Mark?
I don't know because I saw the photo of him. I didn't actually watch the video. I just saw the photo of him, and I was trying to figure out what everything was and couldn't quite see.
The speakers are obscured, but the amplifier is undeniably Dan D'Agostino, the Momentum MXV integrated. I was surprised, but there's a bunch of celebrity audiophiles out there, but it was just cool to see him have one. And I'll say this: the sound is good. The exterior work that he's done aesthetically, amazing on those amps. It looks just like audio jewelry. So yes, Sting, that's what he owns, at least in this apartment he was in. Maybe it was somebody else's apartment, but in any case, he endorses it by doing the full shot of it in the video. So yeah, record store day.
Yeah, Sting.
A bunch of
Sting broke in and did that video. He just broke into a random New York City apartment.
He does live in New York City. It looked like a New York City apartment, so it's probably his. But I don't want to speculate. So yeah, record store day. Check it out. It's always a fun time. I have gotten up early and went and gotten some really fun stuff. So get up early, get in line, buy some vinyl, keep things going. And if you are in the mood to stabilize your records, wink, 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 we do have a few models left of our collaborative record weights available for sale on the website. Sorry, I had to plug it at the end here, guys. You thought you were to get away one episode without hearing anything about it, but no, got you right at the end here. Just go to the website, pt.AUDIO, and then go to About Us, and drop down shows you straight to record weight. And I got all weights, all sizes, all materials. So take a look. The most current one is the walnut record weight. We did one a little bit cheaper, a little bit lighter for you guys out there who might have a Rega or something of that nature. So, Mark, any final thoughts to add before we strike out to AXPONA here? Because I'm ready to pack my bags and get going.
I always have a little bit of trepidation when it comes to AXPONA because it's such a big show and it's really busy. And I usually barely make it to the end of the show in one piece. But if you want to see the absolute biggest show, and in many ways the best show in the United States, especially now that Munich is going to move to Vienna, so we don't know how that'll shape up. But AXPONA in Chicago has always been a solid show. It will show you the high-end audio industry at its very finest. So go to Chicago. It's the 11th through the 13th.
Whenever you listen to this, a lot of people do listen to episodes that are very old. They still listen to a lot of ones. So if you're listening to this, we try to keep them time relevant. But sometimes a huge bulk of you guys do listen immediately, and we appreciate that.
For those people, go to AXPONA.
And come say hi to us. Marc and Brian, we'll shake your hand.
I'll shake your hand.
We'll be there with the bells on. I actually have a bell made for Marc so you can find him easier, like a cow in the pasture. Ding,
I
ding,
won't
ding.
wear that. I'm not wearing that.
Come on.
There's no way.
Okay, not like a cow in the pasture. Like I don't know if you're familiar, Marc, but they have mountain bikers will have a bell that goes so you can hear them coming when they're coming down the hill. So I'll say like a downhill mountain biker instead of. It's much more prestigious, don't you think? Marc, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. I will see you next week. The Occasional Podcast is a production of the Part-Time Audiophile Network, which includes parttimeaudiophile.com, The Occasional Magazine, the PTA newsletter, and audiohead.com. You can stay in touch with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. The Occasional Podcast is produced and hosted by Brian Hunter. Executive produced by Scott Hall at PTA Productions. The Occasional Podcast and its original associated music is monitored, mixed, and mastered on the Focal Trio 6 BE studio monitors. AI songs produced by AUDIO.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Occasional Podcast on iTunes, Google, Spotify, or wherever your favorite podcasts are downloaded.